What's up, guys? Luke Dancy here. Welcome to this week's episode of Unplugged with my special guest today, Mr. David Regal. But up first, I want to make sure you get your hands on some free magic. We do have a giveaway today. We've got this book from my buddy Rory Adams is our giveaway. It's called Only Ideas. It's all about how to create your own magic. All you need to do is like and comment on this video for your chance to win. And we will pick a winner and announce it next week. We only have one copy this week because the book is actually out of print. And we found one in our warehouse, so it's almost like a little rare item for you. So get in there. We'll announce the winner next week. But right now, we've got one of the most creative guys in the world. I like how I tied that together. David Regal. Here he comes in 3, 2, and 1. David Regal.
Hey, guys.
Bam. How we doing, sir?
I'm doing better every second, thanks to Diet Mountain Dew.
I think the last time we did this, it was Diet Coke, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Well, you know, I like to think I grow and I change. I develop, I mature. Diet Mountain Dew is my drink of choice.
Nice. Well, thank you, sir. We want to thank David. All you guys give him some love. David, we want to thank you for stopping by. I was telling the guys earlier, you just flew back home today. You flew in this morning, so thank you for making some time with us today to talk all about your brand new book. Yeah, man. It's there's been a lot of talk about this. I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. Interpreting Magic. As we can see, it's been 10 years since the last book, Approaching Magic, and here you are now. Over 60 routines. I mean, dude, when you do something, you definitely do it right. That's for sure.
Well, it has been 10 years, Luke, because people say, oh, you do so much stuff. Well, honestly, most of the stuff I've been doing the past few years has been on the Carbonaro Effect, because a TV show eats material. It's a monster. Ah!
I was ready.
Escape. He's there again. No. Yes, that's not the view I normally have of him, but it's all right.
I know how that story goes, yeah.
So anyhow, we do so many tricks on that show, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of effects. So I've been involved with that, but people say you come up with a lot of stuff. Not really in print. It's been 10 years, and yes, over 10 years, you do come up with some material. And sometimes it's card material. In the Carbonaro Effect, we do 0 card tricks. And when I say 0 card tricks, we're not even doing things that, they're actually card tricks, but we make the cards look like something else, like coupons. No, 0 card tricks or things that look like card tricks. So over the 10 years, sure, I have some card effects, but also I started working on the stage, the palace stage of the Magic Castle. And you, of course, have to develop different material for that room. And the parlor requires bigger material. So I think even though there's a lot of small close-up magic in the book, maybe my favorite section is the stand-up stuff, because it's just, stuff, it's a little more off the beaten path.
Sure. Yeah, and you get to test out a lot of that too at the castle. That's one cool thing, is you've got the castle in your backyard, pretty close, and you get to try out this material for real people, which is really cool.
Trust me, I don't take it for granted. It's a charm. I mean, if you live out here, trust me, there's plenty to hate about LA. Tons to hate about LA. It's ugly, it's hard to get around, it's crowded. There's a lot of bad things. But the Magic Castle is fantastic. And I don't live next to it, but it's a short drive.
Right.
And being able to go there, not just to perform magic, which I do when I'm in town, but to see magic and be exposed to, not just necessarily the new stuff that's out there, but good stuff out there, because like a magic convention that attracts people from, different places, the Magic Castle is kind of a hub that attracts people from different places, and you have to dress up, and that's really not me, but I'm used to it now. You dress up to go down there and see some magic and see your friends and basically have a good time at your club. It is a club. It's not a open to the public place. You have to be invited by somebody. But when I was a kid, I didn't know what the club was. I'd watch those black and white movies after school, and they'd always have somebody from England go, I'm going off to the club. And I go, what is the club? Now you come to LA, and you start going to the Magic Castle, and it's just a great feeling to have a place, and, so get away. Yeah. And my wife loves it when I'm out of the house. My marriage flourishes on my absence.
You can thank the Magic Castle for keeping your marriage alive. So maybe I don't know.
That's true.
That's funny too. I want to say too, there's been a lot of nice things said about you while you've been chatting there. Like our friend over on YouTube says, David, personally, you have really inspired me, um, which is really nice. Your Oscar Munoz is out there. Oscar Munoz is out there.
Well, in all seriousness, and I'm being sincere now.
Okay.
People don't realize that when I'm basically.
Oh no! Oh, there you are.
Right. The Carbonaro Effect's pretty much the first TV job I had that had magic in it, because normally I was writing a kid's show or a sitcom or whatever.
Right.
But the Carbonaro Effect was like this amazing situation, because I love comedy and I love magic, and both of those are in that show. But I bring it up, writing in general, because writing is solitary. If I'm not working on something, I'm in my room at home just going click, 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 click. And if I'm on a show, whatever the show is, it's me and the same group of people. You see them every day. And after about a year, everyone's tired of seeing everybody. So you don't really experience the rest of the world. Either I'm sitting at my keyboard, or I'm with the same group of people every day, whether I'm working or not working. And that's my long way of saying I really enjoy lecturing and getting out when I do get out, and to see a comment like that where someone says something nice, it does mean a lot to me, because it's very easy for me anyway to forget that if I put something out, whether or whatever it is, somewhere. In a way, you'd think I'd understand that, because here I am, they're going off into the post office, they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, intellectually, I understand that. But when someone says something like that, it reaches me, probably reaches anyone in a different way, and it's very nice to hear. And I like the fact that sometimes I'll put something out there and it'll be done somewhere far away.
Yeah, man. I mean, your stuff is definitely used all over the world. There's magicians all over the world using your stuff. And it's also, someone says we need to do a DSD2. So Jason Morales says we need DSD2. I want to give some love to David. And since someone mentioned one of the projects you and I actually had a chance to do together, it was David Regal, the first person that ever gave me really a chance in the industry. And I know I mentioned this the last time you and I did one of these, but I was just a kid living in North Carolina. You saw some of my work. We were on a magic forum, and you, out of the goodness of your heart, decided to put out a project with me, and it means the world to me every single day. I wouldn't have had that chance to be kind of plugged into the industry if it weren't for your help, kind of opening up that door. So
it worked out in any way that was good. I'm happy to have been part of it, but obviously you deserved it. Everyone loves your stuff.
Well, it's definitely worth noting that David doesn't just produce good material; he's just a really good guy. So I want to give him some love there too, because it is worth noting that some of the stuff you guys don't know about, stuff that actually makes you go, wow, this guy really is just like a decent human being, and that's David Regal.
I think a lot of people in magic, thank God, love magic.
Yes.
I won't say everyone does. I mean, I think we've all seen magicians, sometimes professional magicians, look like they're unhappy to be performing. And when we see that, don't we all think the same thing? Can I say shitty on this podcast?
You just did. Go ahead. Do it again.
What a shitty occupation to pick if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's mysterious to see a magician seeming to not enjoy it or have a passion for it. But most people aren't like that. And the late Johnny Thompson, I got to spend some time with him because he worked on the Carbonaro Effect, and he bragged about how he maintained the enthusiasm of an amateur, and he was proud of that. That he did not lose that thing that makes us, just light up when we see some magic that we like, or see that twist that we never thought of, or we see that idea that didn't occur to us. That was him. And it was a beautiful thing to witness. And, I don't know how you grew up. I always had some idea that when you got to reach a certain age, you can no longer be yourself. You sort of knew who you were when you were young. But when I get this age, I'll be someone different. And people like Johnny, they're there to say, no, 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 no. That joy, that enthusiasm doesn't have to go.
Well said. Yep, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the enthusiasm that people are having about your new book too, because that is something I want to make sure people know about. And the reason I want to bring it up specifically is because a lot of times now, and you know this, David, with the industry, a trailer helps sell a product. Now, with the book, it's hard to do a trailer for a book. So that's why I really wanted
I
to
was
get into.
surprised when you said, yeah, I was surprised when you said, could you do a video? I thought it was a mistake. Do you know this is a book? Yes, could you do a video?
Yeah.
So I basically, this is my house. This is still up from when I did the book.
Oh, cool.
We just never took it down. Behind you are magic books. But yeah, I did a video because they asked me to, and I just talked about what's in the book.
Yeah.
But anyhow, what were you going to ask me?
No, I was just gonna say it would be nice to kind of give the guys an idea. Not that we have to let them know how amazing your work is, because it speaks for itself, and that's just true. But maybe shed some light on what they can expect to find within the covers of the book. Maybe they haven't seen that trailer. Maybe they haven't seen that. So,
Well, again, first and foremost, I am grateful that people have responded to the book. And, grateful maybe isn't even the right word. I think if I were to be completely honest, the word is relieved. Because you do things like this. I mean, it really has been 10 years. It's a big book, but it's not a stupid big book. It's just a lot of stuff in there. And you do it because you love magic and you want to do it. And for whatever reason we do these things, it is not to get rich. No one goes to their wife and says, honey, good news. I'm writing a magic book.
Cha-ching.
Instead, you do it because you really want to do it. And this book started 10 years ago with me wanting to talk to magicians and find out how they approach magic, how they interpret magic. And I started talking to magicians and recording them, thinking, maybe someday I'll put it in a book. But I just realized some people were no longer that young. I wanted to speak to them. I wanted to hear what they had to say about a trick they love to do themselves, why they like to do it, how it made them feel when they did it, why they chose that trick, those kinds of questions. And, not to bring the room down, but since I did some of these interviews I did for the book, and there's over 30 of them, in addition to a lot of material, there's 30 interviews or more, and a few of them have already passed away since I interviewed them. So I literally have been working on this thing for years, and I thought maybe, it'll just be a book of these interviews, because it interests me, maybe it interests other people. I kind of just wanted to do it. But as the years went by, I have this, routine that I did at the castle, and, well, I don't want to forget it, I'll write it up. That routine, I don't want to forget it, I'll write it up. And eventually, after 10 years, I had like 60 pieces. And that, with the interviews, made it a big book. Plus, we all talk to our own magic gods. By that I mean, we all value different things in magic. And in a lot of ways, we like to think we're the only road. But none of us are the only road. And that's part of what interpreting magic is. Different people value different things. Different people magnify different things. And my book is not about, here's the way to do magic. But I do think the book, which is called Interpreting Magic, helps anybody learn how to interpret magic for themselves. In other words, when you do this trick, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yep.
And you're going to enjoy performing it more because you're doing a version that no one else does exactly that way. And people who see it are going to feel that. And some of the more intellectual people will realize, oh, he's actually doing it in a way I've never seen. Most people won't, put that together, but it's really everything. Interpreting magic is everything. And look, we all want good tricks and best secrets, but we wanted that since we were 11 years old. Of course we want the best tricks and the best secrets. Okay, but if we have, great secrets in front of us, and there's a lot of tricks out there, and a lot of them are really good tricks. If we have that bunch of good tricks, how are we going to be any different from this other person that has exactly those tricks? Okay, we've done that job. We have the good secrets. what next? There has to be a what next because, like I say, anyone that's any good interprets magic. We don't confuse David Blaine with David Copperfield.
No.
We don't confuse the two of them with, Penn and Teller. Everyone that we appreciate is interpreting. That's why when we go to see a singer, we're going to see a specific singer. We don't say, honey, put on your best dress. We're going to see the singer that's like every other singer. And I think it's a good analogy, magic and music. Because with music, a singer could go to a store and buy the sheet music for a song. But they don't say, now I'm done, because I have the sheet music. No. It's what allows you to continue, do the next thing you're going to do to make that your own. But in magic, because we love secrets so much, and we're, always looking for the next great secret, and, we all do it. But sometimes we forget the secret is not the end. It's what allows us to go on. So once we have that magic secret, it's like having the sheet music as a singer. Well, now what do we do with it? And that's when you look at a lot of magicians performing, you can almost draw a line. Here are the people that take that secret and then continue. Here are the ones that think they have enough. And you know what? What messes up this, very simplistic statement is the fact that some tricks exist that are so freakishly strong. Anyone could do them. And yes, impress an audience. You do shadow coins, man, you don't have to talk. People know what the magic is. It's beautiful. It's impressive. It's everything you want a magic effect to be. Anyone does that, it's fantastic if you do it, adequately. But most tricks, almost all tricks, are not that. Because occasionally they are that. We fall into this headset of finding, all those tricks that are just like that. They're that good. Well, you know what? If all you have is a pile of tricks that when anyone does them, they can, impress an audience, then all those people with those effects are the same performer because all they're doing is, a run through of the secret.
Yep.
If anyone that's, appreciated in any of the performing arts interprets, doesn't mean you have to interpret to be successful. You can be, a copycat or be someone that just does tricks. And people go see people sing. They aren't the best singers. People go see people do magic. They aren't the greatest magicians. You can make a living that way. You can make a good living, but that's not the real game. The real game is to, I think, and I think anyone else thinks,
Yeah. No, I mean,
how do we put this to ourselves and come out with something on the other end that is an expression that we've contributed.
it's such a small thing, but people seem to miss it because it's like, oh, I bought the trick, I'm done. I've got the trick. Oh, I know how to do it good. I've got it perfected.
This is a very long way. Yeah. It's a long way of answering your question. So the book has, in addition to a lot of material, very simple, nuts and bolts approaches you can take, anyone can take, to tweaking things to make it uniquely their own. It's not crazy theories. It's like very much, step-by-step things you can do just to make magic your own. There are some essays about other things as well, but basically the theme of interpreting magic is no shock. It's about interpreting magic, and that's why I wanted to talk to these magicians. Because what I love is sometimes they disagree with one another, sometimes I disagree with them. It doesn't matter. It's not about reaching a great consensus. It's kind of the opposite. It's about, people finding their own roads. And what I got out of talking to all these people and, editing down these interviews, so they were going through my head day in and day out. And in some ways, the hardest part of the book was the interview section, even though you wouldn't think so. But I found it inspiring, but in a unique way, because you realize all these people, and these are wonderful contributors to magic. I mean, wonderful, brilliant human beings. So not all performers. Some are performers who are impeccable, like Suzanne or Lance Burton, just fantastic performers. Some are, inventors, Jim Steinmeier, Angelo Carbone, talking about, their roads in magic. What you realize is all these people are in some ways tilling the same fields. No one is handed a guarantee that says, here, you're going to be successful. This idea of yours is going to work. Congratulations. Now you may go on and start doing that work. You do not have any guarantee. All you have is a thought that, maybe this idea isn't crazy or too stupid, and you fail several times, many times, maybe most times, but occasionally these people, all of them, have one thing in common. They created beauty. All these people started with just an idea, fail, but kept at it and kept walking the walk and didn't let failure be a stopper. And let's face it, failure, the fear of failure can be paralyzing. The thought, what if I fail? And you do have to confront that to be good at anything. Anything at all. I mean, look at athletes. You have to confront failure constantly, and certainly with any artistic, endeavor.
100%.
And so once all these people did it, every single one, and by facing that and continuing with that, it becomes very inspiring because, in addition, welcoming. It's inspiring because you see all these people. You kind of do what we do. We just keep at it, and it's welcoming because we realize we're all in this, this giant gumbo, and sometimes we work together, sometimes we work alone, depending on our lifestyles and our situations, but we all contribute. And whenever we do something that turns out good, it's for the good of magic, and we're all keeping it alive and keeping it dynamic and changing it. Everyone changes magic. Everyone that's performing magic as a hobbyist is changing magic. Everyone that's studying magic is changing magic. And that's, to me, a wonderful and lovely thing about this craft. It's always in motion.
Yes, it is. It sure is. And I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and people are blown away by the gold that you're dropping. People have said they're taking notes. They're trying to process all this. This is the real work. And
I can't read it. You have to read things. I'm not reading at the same time. I'm just drinking Mountain Dew on some sort of weird caffeine high.
You're drinking Mountain Dew and dropping some fire is what you're doing. There was a really good question actually that came in that kind of goes along some of the things that you're saying, especially the last part where you were kind of highlighting the fact that failing is part of the process. One of my good friends, an old friend, Colin McNamara's got a great question. Do you have any advice on getting over that self-judgment involved in putting ideas on paper, as a writer or as a magician? I mean,
I've been making my living as a writer for however long it's been since I've been in LA, 30 years. I'm like, my wife retired last year. Let me tell you, she's a very good advertisement for retirement. She's happy all the time. She plays pickleball 4 times a week.
Oh.
And if pickleball is not like a real thing, she's just seeing a fella. But I think it's a real thing. Anyhow, with the Carbonaro show, I've been gone half the year for all the years we've been doing the show, which is several years. And so, now I have to admit, I'm enjoying being home and that sort of thing. And to get back to the question, when you write, I find I put it away, look at it 2 days later, and I say, what was I thinking? And you fix it, and you rewrite it, and put it away 2 days later. Better, but what was I thinking there? I just think you have to accept that. Sometimes you get lucky. That's great. Okay, I'm lucky. I like this thing I wrote last week. But we shouldn't expect that. We should just expect that this sounded good when I was in the shower. Let's not forget it. Put it down. Blah, blah, blah. And also, you have to realize, compare it to an actual TV production. Actual TV production, what's the cheapest thing? Typing. Because once they have to produce this thing, and they're making sets, or they're hiring actors and getting that extra camera, whatever it is, to produce that thing you wrote. That might do. Just a silent ad. Obviously, it gets very expensive when you produce. But it's free when you go like this. I'm working on a project now with some in the magic world for a possible live thing, and not everyone in the mix comes from the world of writing, and what if we have to change? What if we have to change this? Should we talk about this some more? Because what if we have to? No, we don't have to keep talking about it because changing it is free. The easiest thing to do is to change something where the only cost is your time, and because now you have a better idea. So no, I'm a big fan of getting down on paper so you don't forget it. Sure. That's one of my motivations in writing books. I know that sounds crazy, but personally, I love the process. And I'm not saying that's the right thing, but for me, I've only recently in my life, and I'm an adult, I've only recently stopped beating myself up for the fact that I like the process more than anything, more than performing. Same thing with writing. I like writing the script, trying to come up with the jokes, and then when they do it, and the jokes land, and people laugh, you feel good, you check it off. But that wasn't as good as the process, fighting with the problems. And here's the knot of problems in this week's script, and let's undo the knot. Same thing with magic. It's a knot of problems, right? Every magic thing we're trying to fix. So I like the process. Yes, put it down on paper. Of course, don't beat yourself up. You should pat yourself on the back that you walked over to your keyboard and made a note to yourself. Who cares if you hate the idea tomorrow? Who cares? Because some of these ideas in your idea drawer, your idea file, you're going to like. And you're going to be very happy you saved that idea. And if you're like me, you'll forget you had that idea. I find props in my closet sometimes, and I realized I did a routine with that prop at least 30 times at the Magic Castle, and I don't remember the routine. And I try to tape myself now so that doesn't happen. But I think I've lost some recordings, whatever. But yeah, I have props, some handmade, some that I had to pay money for, where I don't remember the routine. So yeah, put everything down. And you should be happy if you find things you don't like the next day, because it means that you're sensitive or sensitized to something you weren't sensitized to before. That's good. That's fantastic. Don't we wish we could always find everything wrong with, this the first draft thing? It normally takes a little while. And yes, we all get lucky sometimes. And let's go yippee and have a Popeye's chicken sandwich when that happens. And don't, beat yourself up for getting lucky, because sometimes you will. Where the thing you wrote down, boy, it really landed. It wasn't too long. This wasn't too boring. It got into the trick at the right time, and they went wow at the end, just like we hoped. I feel you don't need to write a full script unless you want to. But those little premises, the rails, that, here's the reason I'm doing this, or here's the reason I think you should watch this, that communication between the performer and the audience is very often, for magicians, a minor consideration. But trust me, for the audience, it's the act. It's the act. It's not this little thing. It's not the framework. It's what you're doing. And of course, the trick should be as good as the trick can be, right. The magical component. But the audience, not only do they desire those rails, it's the identity of what you're doing. I mean, if you're doing some card thing, you're saying, I can estimate where every card is in the deck, it's just to go like this, and I'll throw on the ace. Trust me, they believe you're really doing whatever you say you're doing. If you're going to estimate, throw in the ace of spades, it's going to land next to their card. For them, the experience of you looking at that deck, estimating, riffling it, taking a step back, sharpening the edge of your ace of spades, we throw it in, that is the performance. That's what they're remembering. And that second at the end where, the ace of spades was next to the thing, and the trick worked. But the performance, the thing they're watching, the thing they're interested in, is very often not literally the trick. It's the context in which the trick takes place. My dogs are going crazy. I think they're saving me from the mailman yet again.
That's funny. If you need to hop up for a sec, I can run this for just a sec. If you're good, you're good.
Yeah. My wife's downstairs.
Okay. Um, there was a question here, and maybe you want to let the guys know because I know that you're a little bit of a humble guy here. Um, Chris Kelly says, with your background in comedy and writing slash directing, when did you find your passion for magic? So before you answer that part, why don't you let them know some of the TV shows that you did write for, even before you worked
Well,
with Michael and all that. So
it's the whole gamut. The whole gamut. I was with a comedy group in New York. I did 2,000 shows with them. Fantastic time of my life. Absolutely fantastic. In New York, none of us were rich, but that comedy group, Chicago City Limits, paid us a living wage to do nothing but a comedy show in Manhattan. And there are other comedy groups in New York, but know what they paid the next most popular group? Zero.
oh, wow.
So it went from living wage to zero. So we were very fortunate when famous people came through, because it's New York, they always come through. They'd all tell us the same thing: you don't know how lucky you have it. And we were, of course, in awe of them, and we didn't even know what they were saying. Are you crazy? But yeah, we didn't know how good we had it. So then I moved to New York. No, pardon me. I moved from Boston to New York to do the comedy group thing. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and utter chaos. Just every story you ever hear about LA is true. Every single one. All the bad behavior, it's terrible. And because of TV, it's a real lottery in TV. I don't know if you know this, but most people, just like most Americans, aren't filthy rich. But in other parts of the world, I think every American is filthy rich.
Sure.
They really do. People think everyone that works in Hollywood is filthy rich. Now, most people are just working man. I've always been a working man writer. But at the tippity top, it's the biggest money you can make in show business. So those people that own a piece of a sitcom that syndicates, those people are the richest people in show business. It's crazy money. And it's changing now with streaming and all that. But just to put it in perspective, why am I telling you this? I'm not one of those people. I don't have a percentage of a huge, show that went to syndication. Like most people, work on different shows and whatnot. I tell you that because it attracts all those horrible people. Because there's that potential to make a ridiculous amount of money, which does not always bring out the best in people. I don't know if you ever experienced that in your life. Sometimes you have a friend or acquaintance and they suddenly make a lot of money, and it sometimes changes them, sometimes it doesn't. But it's not uncommon for money, for the prospect of money to bring out the absolute worst in people. So I moved out here and I've done all these different jobs and had all these different experiences and met some great people. Along the way, I wrote for a #1 kids show, Rugrats. I ran that show for a little while, and that was a fun show to work on because some of the episodes were great. So that means there's that high watermark. It's depressing when you work on a show, as we all have, which isn't a good show. You got a job, it's a show you don't like it that much. No one likes it that much. Most shows are not hit shows. But being on Rugrats is great because there were good episodes. Prior to me ever being involved with the show, there were these great episodes. It was something to aspire to, and everyone had a good attitude. In sitcoms, the most popular show I got to write for was Everybody Loves Raymond, because, and never on staff, I was writing scripts, and they produced 2 of my scripts. And they brought me in when they produced those scripts, okay. And I was thrilled. I was in awe of that entire production. I thought it was the best set of actors, the best cast working at the time, and the writing was the best writing at the time. So for them to do a couple of scripts of mine was validation for me and was fantastic in that respect. But most shows fall between the highs of a #1 sitcom or #1 kids show, and these little shows that last 1 season or not even a season because they fall on their own weight, they crash on their own weight before they even get through 1 season. So it's everything, and you have to have thick skin for the reasons I just expressed. Sometimes you meet great people, and sometimes you meet people that are just in it for the wrong reasons. And sometimes those people are very successful. But if you have a thick skin, you can go from one job to the next and just keep at it. They're not going to stop making video for distribution. There'll always be TV type content.
And with all of that, how did your love for magic kind of mix in with all of that?
Well, this is the boring part. I had the exact same story everyone has. I had a friend that got into it before I did. My friend's name was Jerry Sibley. He was in elementary school with me, and he was the big performer kid. Always, talent show. He'd be doing some number from Fiddler on the Roof, with choreography, and just really talented kid. But his dad, I think his dad was a doctor, kind of well-to-do, and I grew up in the Boston area. His dad would go to New York, go to Lou Tannen's magic shop in New York back then, and come back with these tricks. And so Jerry Sibley, my 11-year-old friend, and he's there with an appearing wand. What? What's an appearing wand? He's there with Forgetful Freddy. What's Forgetful Freddy? If you don't know that trick, I won't even bother describing it to you. That's a kid show trick.
Okay.
And it would take forever to describe this ridiculous trick. But you can look up Forgetful Freddy. It's a classic kid show trick. And it had all these different things, and I'd be amazed that there's such a thing as a magic shop, a magic store. What? He said, yeah, in fact, I have the new catalog. Would you like the old catalog? I'll give it to you. There's such a thing as a magic catalog? I had no idea. And if you're unfamiliar with, the Tannen's catalogs, I had half a dozen of them behind this thing.
Oh, cool.
Back then, they were like a Bible, a hardbound book this thick, hardbound, with nothing but tricks in these sections. Liquid, fire, rope, cigarettes.
So cool. That's
good when you're troubles. So, like so many of us, this catalog went into my room and became, my after bedtime magic porn. You're there with a flashlight. You're supposed to be asleep. You're looking at all these tricks and these descriptions, and it seems beyond belief that any of these things exist. And the great dichotomy between the price and the description of the trick that you just could not get your head around. Like, I think I've told this story before, but you go in this catalog, it says cigarette catcher. Cigarette catcher. Well, the description for cigarette catcher is kind of a great magic description. With empty hands, you reach into the air and produce a cigarette out of thin air. You take that cigarette, toss it into an empty top hat or other convenient container. You reach into the air and get a second cigarette, which you toss into the hat, then a third, then a fourth. Produce an unlimited amount of cigarettes and toss them into the hat. But wait, you're not done. After a magical pass, you show the audience the hat. It's empty. The cigarettes have vanished. Price? 20 cents.
20
I mean, 20 cents. 20 cents for this thing that makes thousands of cigarettes, this machine that's shooting them into your hand from somewhere in the air, the thing that's making them vanish with a ray of destruction. Yeah, so you'd read these things, price was 20 cents, and eventually you had your list, and you'd save up, and you'd order this stuff from Lou Tannen's, and making that list, which took weeks. Well, reading the catalog took forever. One of the great moments you'll have in magic is reading that catalog for the first time. Making the list of things you'll order, fantastic. Putting the money in the envelope, sending it away, oh my God. Because this is mail now, remember? This is the U.S. The waiting, weeks. The package arrives after the week. Great moment of magic. You open up that package and look inside. One of the worst moments you'll ever have in magic. But so that's how I got into magic, and it's funny that story means a lot to me because I feel very strongly that the best lesson anyone in magic can have, and this goes for 80-year-olds and 10-year-olds, the greatest lesson that we can never learn too much and sometimes we have to relearn, is that there is no correlation between method and effect. Zero. They are different things. There are good methods and bad methods. Of course, we want the best method, for the arena, for the trick, for the plot. Of course, we want the best method. But it has nothing to do with the effect. The effect, let's call the effect the floating can. Well, probably an invisible thread is a good method, and it costs nothing. But we could have another method, which is a jet of air that we don't see. It's silent because NASA made it, and it's underneath the can, it's making it float. It's the same effect. It's the same effect. And the method has nothing to do with the effect. The effect is the floating can. And there's a cheap method, and there's an expensive method. Or maybe there's a sleight of hand method, and there's a mechanical method. The method is a separate discussion. The method is its own discussion, but the method is not the effect. The method is something we use in an attempt to produce the desired effect. And, in the past several years, I've worked on a lot of different things in magic. I did some stuff, I won't go linear. I did some stuff on Broadway, and I did some stuff in big touring act. And it's interesting because you meet a lot of different people and a lot of people in their spheres, and very often there's confusion there, just confusion that, oh no, the method is the effect. No. The effect is the effect. The method, or the various methods we're talking about, are things that we think maybe are a good way to deliver that effect, but it's different subject matter.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you work in stuff like TV, producers and TV people, they don't understand that in a big way. They don't.
They think magic is magic, and so a lot of magicians think magic is magic.
Yeah.
Magic is not magic.
Yep.
And TV, even adults, and even companies that have done magic before think magic is magic. In other words, oh, we want to turn a cat into a dog, so go to the store. They honestly think, they're not saying this aloud, but they are thinking, you'll go to the magic shop and get the thing that turns a dog into a cat. Okay, next. Or whatever the idea is, whatever the effect is, whatever the plot is. And generally, you can't just do that. There's very few things on the Carbonaro Effect. If, let's say we did 800 tricks, and somewhere around there, maybe a dozen were things that we bought at a magic shop, maybe a dozen out of 800, and the rest were things we made on our tables and whatnot.
The Carbonaro Effect is in what season right now? I can't keep up, to be honest with you.
Me neither. I think the 5th, but they count them in odd ways, and sometimes you take breaks between them, so it feels like a new season, but they're calling it the old season. It's not a lot. We've done over 100 episodes, like 100 and something, and it's a lot. And what's interesting is, well, first of all, Michael, there he is. I don't mean this as a backhanded compliment, but he's the best in the world at doing what he's doing on that show. His live show I have nothing to do with, and he's brilliant in his live show.
That's good. Yeah, it's good.
The show is good. He has good taste in effects, but Michael's one of these rare personalities, and not all performers have it. He's not the only one in the world who's ever had this quality, this welcoming quality, and this presence. I think he performs for 2,000 people, these big theaters, and everyone feels he's there. I mean, present with them, pleased to be there, and they feel they're spending time with him. I mean, needless to say, we've all seen magic shows, even successful magic shows, where the audience doesn't feel they're meeting the performer. They feel they're seeing the performer do some tricks. They don't really feel like he's visiting them or they're visiting him or her. But Michael has that quality. Like some performers, like Sammy Davis Jr. had that quality. He just seemed very present, and people really felt they spent time with him. Michael has that quality, and so that's its own thing. And as I say, I have nothing to do with that show. But on this weird show, the Carbonaro Effect, where there is no magician and there are no magic tricks.
Yeah.
There are no magic tricks. There is no magician. It's a strange day in the life of a mark. We are giving the mark a peculiar day. They think it's really happening. I say there's no magic tricks. tricks, because if they thought they were seeing a magic trick, we can't use it. If they thought Michael was a magician, we can't use it. And this is my roundabout way of getting back to what you brought up. Magicians would say, when that show started up, oh, it can only go one season, because they were thinking of the Tennant's catalog. There's only so many tricks. You can do the fire tricks, you can do the rope tricks. But I never, not for one day, did I approach the Carbonaro Effect like it's a magic show. If you approach it like a strange day in the life of the mark, it becomes, what can you make them believe? And the experience of watching the show is watching this real person start believing something they probably shouldn't believe. And that's a very kind of giddy experience for the viewer. And of course we're doing it with magic, and the viewer knows we're using magic, even a wink to the viewer. But that is why we can do 800 routines, because it's not the rope trick, the fire trick. It's what can we make someone believe? And yeah, we'll use magic as a tool to make them believe that. But whether the method's the same one we used last week or a completely new method, doesn't matter. We will do whatever it takes.
It's definitely been a fun ride watching the show, and you've made a couple of cameos yourself on the show, so it's been
very few.
It's been nice to see you pop up every now and then. Here's a question specific to the book as well. We've had people asking a lot of questions in different ways, but this one's specific to the book, Interpreting Magic. Daniel Ricks would like to know, what is a favorite chapter, routine, or something from the new book that you enjoy the most? What are some of your favorite things from the new book?
Well, first of all, Daniel, I appreciate that question. I'll tell you things I like about the book. I don't want to sound, immodest. I don't have a favorite, because one of the good things about this book for me is, because it took me many years to write it. So at the end, when I'm proofing it and reading it over and over, it's almost like I'm experiencing the book, because it's been so long since I wrote some of these things, because it takes so much time, as you might imagine, to do photos and and physically write up this stuff and do the interviews. I like the fact that there's magic coming from so many different places. I mean, I don't have any. I'm not in a magic ghetto. I don't just do card tricks, and I'm not just interested in card tricks. I love a good card trick, but I have a trick called the beer, the ball, and the baby, and you read this and go, "What is this trick?" Called the beer, the ball, and the baby. And I don't know why it occurred to me one day, but it did. And when I read the book, look through it, I still smile, because I go, wow, I love the fact in this book, you have some impromptu card stuff you can do that's not impromptu, but wow, if I do this in the kitchen for 5 minutes, I'm going to really fry this, audience. Yeah. And I am a kitchen table kind of guy. I'm not a very handy person. I have a vise and some saws and some, adhesives and things like that. I make kitchen table things sometimes, and I have done whole acts at the Magic Castle just on stuff I've made on the kitchen table. But I think Beer, Ball, and the Baby might be in that category. But what I like about it is that there's a lot of magic for different arenas. And if you had like some corporate gig and you just wanted a great, funny, mystifying piece of magic that people would talk about, I have a trick in this book, and it's in the end section of the stand-up stuff. And already a couple of big shot magicians have contacted me and said, I think I might be doing this. And it makes me feel really good, because you don't really know when you write a book. You hope people like the material and like the fact that you even had interviews. I wasn't even convinced people would like the interviews. I was worried, people are going to say, you filled the book with interviews instead of more tricks. But again, I feel not happiness, relief, because it's so much work. It's incapable for me to be happy. I'm just anxious the entire time. It was printed out of this country, so I was afraid in that month it's coming over on a boat, the boat was going to sink. I was just anxious the entire time. So when the boats landed, I wasn't even happy then. It was just relief. Then when people like the book, relief. But back to the idea of I don't get out that much. I've been saying yes to some appearances, which is why you might see them appearing here or there. Because I feel I put out a book, I should get off my butt and go talk here and there, and this is the time to do it before, I'm too lazy and don't want to do anything at all. Let's do it now. And I do enjoy it very much. And I went to the session, which is a convention in the UK just a few weeks ago. And you have to realize the book has just come out. I mean, I know people have been getting it, but I have been doing a lot of, lecturing. And so the session was a big time for me to do these effects for people. I've done them at the Magic Castle, but I mean, this is a room full of magicians. Magic Castle, people think it's a room of magicians. It's not. It's mostly lay people. It's like performing for lay people. So now this is just magicians. And, I did whatever it was, an hour worth of material. I think it was a 1-hour lecture. Stuff from the book. And I took nothing for granted. I just sort of hoped they'd like this stuff. And they got up and they bought all my books. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying, it moved me because you just hope, the material speaks to people, and there's a lot of different kinds of material. They got up and they got the book. And that was because they responded to the actual material, not because someone told them they liked the book or they must buy the book or an ad said get the book. They were looking at what was in the book. So that, for me, was more than a relief. It was just such a good feeling because everything else is in a bubble. You're writing a bubble. Even getting it printed is in a bubble. I'm dealing with a printer. You're getting it, the logistics done is in a bubble. You don't really feel it. But to do the tricks and see people just get up and walk over, it was fantastic. So what I like about the book, I'm blaming the Diet Mountain Dew. I'm just talking too much. What I like about the book is it's not one thing. Okay. It's like a world. It's a world. Even if it was just the interviews, it's a world. It's not one interview with everyone repeating the same thing. Yeah, some people will agree with each other, and there's that. But there's a lot of information you get over here that you don't get over there, and it's interesting. It really is. In some cases, I'm not saying every moment of every interview is this. Sometimes something funny happened, and I go, wow, I'm glad this is in the book. That was pretty funny, because I'm a laugh whore. I was in an improv group for many years. I'm a laugh whore. Other times, they would just say something that I did not expect, and I'd never heard them say before. And I'd finish the interview, and I'd go, wow, I can't believe that is going to be in this book of mine, because I love this thing this other person said, and I'm just thrilled at it. I don't know whether it's insight, or it's surprising honesty, or it's just unique perspective. And there's all of that from these other people that I interviewed. Hopefully some of that in stuff I wrote too, but I'm taking myself out of the equation. A lot of interesting stuff. And I'm really proud to be able to, it's preserved forever. Yep. Preserved forever. Maybe it's just an anecdote that I've never seen in print. Maybe it's, a person's philosophy that really says who they were as a person. Eugene Berger, I interviewed him in the book. He's one of the people that passed away since I interviewed him. He said something in that book. It's already proved controversial. It's already been quoted by someone else saying they disagreed. Huh. But it's at the end of the interview, and it was shockingly honest, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. Not only honest in a personal way. And I couldn't believe he said it. And I thought it was beautiful, the fact that he did say it. And it was about, are you always honest? Are you always honest with other people in life? I forgot how we got on the subject. Somehow that got mentioned in the interview. Maybe people asked him for advice, and I said, oh, you're always honest with people. I honestly don't remember. But his response to that question was astonishing. And so we got other things. David Roth. I had no idea he was going to start telling me some anecdotes that are about other magicians that absolutely deserve to be recorded forever. And you read this stuff, and you just can't believe it ended up in this book, in this case my book, with these little bits of these people's lives. And I just love that too. In addition to the fact that I think some kick-ass tricks in there. I mean, uh, different kinds of magic and really solid stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing other people do.
That's some of the most fun is when you see people, doing your work. That's like the biggest compliment you can get. And
I love it. I love it because for me, remember, I'm in magic because I love it. It's pulled my ass out of the fire many times. If I had a gig that I thought was sewn up and it didn't happen, and I was able to do something with magic to bring in a little bit of money, trust me, I appreciate that. I take nothing for granted. My kids, growing up, going in school, I appreciate having magic. Sometimes, filling in those gaps. But the reason I'm in magic is I love it. And so for me, because I'm not a pro performer, I don't go around doing shows, in which case I wouldn't do books. I'd keep everything to myself.
oh, yeah.
I love seeing other people do my stuff. I love it.
There was a comment/question that I wanted to mention. Phil from Facebook says Sudden Deck 3, baby. I got to be honest, I used the original version and then the second version when I did restaurant work back in North Carolina all the time, and now 3.0 is out, and I do have it queued up to show the guys if they haven't seen it. From a creative standpoint, it is one of the most creative, but also one of the best ways to open your card set. I just such a fan of it. Actually, a couple nights ago here in Vegas, I did a meetup. My buddy Sean Scott and I were talking about it. He actually he picked one up. I'm just going to shut up and let the guys see it. I mean, this is you at your best. This is such a great piece of magic, but it's also not hard to do. So let me just shut up and I'll let you kind of talk about Sudden Deck 3. You know that guy. Here he is.
Oh, look at that dude. I would kick him out of bed. I look a little thinner.
God, that looks so
Oh,
good.
it's a flying fox.
Love it.
That is a little golden discrepancy there. Allows the trick to work. And it produces a deck. Could be a stack deck, could be a regular deck, could be a gimmick deck, whatever goes in that load chamber. Yes, and as I say, for this new run that'll be out, we've enhanced it a little bit, but we have yet another idea we're working on.
Looks so good.
We'll see if it bears fruit.
Love it. You used one of your key words that I remember reading in one of your early books. It might have been Constant Fooling, where there was a little line that you said, which was "discrepancies are your friends," and
it's funny. Someone said that to me yesterday. I did 2 days ago. I did a lecture in San Francisco. Someone walked up to me and said, "Discrepancies are your friends," and so I said, "Well, I'm going to be showing you some tonight." And first trick in my book, it's called The Magicians, and it's fascinating to me because it's a trick I didn't know if it would work in a unique way. When I say I didn't know if it would work, normally when we say that we think, oh, is the thread strong enough to pull the thing we want? Will it work? But in this case, for that trick, I wasn't sure the audience would even perceive the effect. In other words, if I do this, will they think something happened? I'm telling you this because you said discrepancies. It's based on a handling of The Whispering Queens by the late Roy Walton, brilliant man, and Jerry Sadowitz. So it starts there. If you don't know that trick, it involves, again, I don't know, we're not supposed to say bad words on this, I don't know.
Do it, drop it.
Well, it's one of these tricks where you do a little miscall and it's a little bit of bullshit, but you make a magic trick happen. It's a great trick. And all I did was I added another layer to it. In other words, it's like, here's this trick. It's like a little house of bullshit, but that root looks pretty strong. Normally we want to, when we do a miscall, just start the car and get away. You got away with your miscall, leave. But instead, I built another house of bullshit on top of the house of bullshit. And I thought, will people even go along with this? I mean, pushing it this far. And I started doing it, and it worked. And it landed so hard, I made it my opener. And it's the first trick in the book. And the reason I'm talking about it is all discrepant. You said discrepancies are your friend. It's completely discrepant. Everything you're telling them is happening is not happening, but they're feeling it happen. And you're doing kind of nothing in the second half of this thing. And for them, it's climax after climax. And nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. And it's bizarre because everything is discrepant, and yet it's it's interesting to be in this zone, and you don't often enter it in magic, where you're not sure if the effect will even resonate as an effect. Normally we do declarative magic. You cut open the lemon, there's a bill. That's a trick. If I cut that open and there's a bill there, we've done magic. It's declarative. But there are some effects where they just enter this zone, and it's interesting. I love entering a place where you do not know the answer. That's the great thing about magic. There'll always be things you do not know.
It's that line, that trick actually inspired me to create a lot of weird, quirky things. I was hanging out with Alan Ackerman the other night, and I was showing him some controls, and they were all very discrepant. And I dropped that line. I said, "Yeah, David Regal told me discrepancies are your friends." So I played with my friends. It's true. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I mean,
Some of Ash's best work involved discrepancy, and it's phenomenally powerful, especially when it has a kinetic element that carries you from one side to the other. That kinetic element overwhelms discrepancy.
I love it. It's so much fun.
Follow action in a film.
And we've been talking a lot about David's new book. Obviously, we also took a peek at Sudden Deck 3. Um, I'm not about to sit here and go through the whole list of stuff that David has created, but I know Murphy stocks pretty much everything that you've released, DVD and book-wise. There is a plethora of material out there that you've produced over the years. Are the DVDs downloads? That was something I was trying to look up real quick.
I don't know, I did them for L&L.
They are. I see them here. They are downloads. Okay, cool.
I did one with Dave Forrest. I don't know if that's available.
So another new one was All Alone, which I saw some people talking about too. My buddy Rich Bacone said he wanted to check out your new version of the.
Look, I give a lot of credit to Card Shark. I had a trick called Alone on the market, and I think you know this about me. I'm blunt, so I came out with Alone, and people said, "Oh, there's similar things out there." And someone sent me another trick out there that's very similar to Alone, but added a kicker. And not only did I not know this trick existed, but I was in the unfortunate state of having printed up all these instructions that said, "Don't be tempted to do the following." And I described the kicker this other guy had that I didn't even know he'd done. And so I threw out all those instruction booklets. I gave the guy credit, and I didn't make it sound, backhanded at all. But he preceded me, and he had it with an extra kicker. That for me, I don't want to do that kicker. But another magician said, "Oh, you know what? I do the same thing. I've never published it, but I swear to you, I've done the same thing. Here's a newspaper clipping of me, talks about me doing it." And I gave him credit too. I gave everyone credit. It happens in magic. Sometimes we come up with something someone else has already come up with, and I feel bad when that happens. And I want to give everyone credit. I mean, it's not like, I don't think anyone is making so much money on a magic trick that's like we have to not give credit to people. So I gave them all credit. But for years, since I came out with that, I thought, gee, it'd be a little better if. And I talked to Christian over at Card Shark about ways to make it better. He had some good ideas, really good ideas, and a willingness to dive in. And his willingness to dive in and contribute ideas, including the geometry of the whole thing. I mean, really creative, good design ideas. That went into this thing called All Alone, which is a more powerful and resilient effect. And it's also different. It differentiates it from the other ones, but that wasn't the idea. The idea was to make it better. And it's without a doubt better. And when you get this thing, you look at what they had to do to make this deck, it's almost beyond belief because every card is unique. And it's, I don't want to say how it works exactly because it's a Card Shark deck, but it's working is fairly standard. But it's these cards they made up that allow it to sort of go this extra mile, and it's fantastic. The effect. Do you have the effect or no? It's too long. The demo. I'll do it for my son right here. I'll describe the effect. It's basically a version of the odd card, the invisible deck, or the brainwave plot. But in the case of All Alone, the deck is on the table from the beginning. They name any card, and it can be any card in that deck of cards. You take the deck out of its box. Of course, you need presentation. I'm just telling you the plot.
Yep.
The whole thing with them envisioning the tree and the branches are all the cards, and they're all falling off except for one. But basically, one card is named. It's not forced. There's no equivoke. You spread it through. Pardon me. You spread through the face-down deck. One card is face up, and it's of course the named card, and that's what we're used to seeing with Brainwave, and that's what we're used to seeing more or less with the invisible deck. Now the neat thing is you turn over that deck, it doesn't go out of sight, and every card is blank on the face except that one card that they said. So it's the only printed card in the entire deck. It's a really strong kicker. And the reason I call it All Alone is the previous version you had to use Magician's Choice to get down to a certain spectrum of card. Only had to do it once. It wasn't bad, but some people wanted to be able to do it with any card, and they'd buy two of the old versions to be able to do it with any card. Well, All Alone, thanks to Card Shark, what they're able to work out, it cannot be any card in the deck, and it's a kick-ass trick. It really is. I can't praise Card Shark too highly because they really cared about making this thing as strong as it can be.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've had people saying that it's a fantastic trick. Obviously, the effect. You guys should check out the trailer. You can see him performing it. I believe it is for your son. Is that Jake? Is that Jake?
Yeah, Jake, yeah. Right here.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, it's a great thing. It definitely has that nice kicker at the end. And someone else said Card Sharp material is always great. Yeah, and they did a great job with this, 100%. That's why I wanted to make sure we mentioned that one. That's another favorite of mine.
And he attacked. I mean, just if anyone out there is ever thinking of working with Christian, I have to tell you, he attacked it with a certain level of urgency that you always want to see in someone you're working on a project with. Without that sense of urgency, things can sort of hang around forever. But he was just on it, and I appreciated that.
Very nice. Just going through a few more of your my favorites here, actually, of yours. There's so many. Obviously the disposable deck we were talking about earlier. That's a lot of fun. And then there was this too. The clarity box is one of those things that when you first dropped it, people were losing their mind. Like the clear mystery box, you were pretty much one of the first to bring that to the market, because before that it was.
Well, that's interesting.
What's that?
Interesting / tragic. I came up with the clarity box, and it went around the world fast. I mean, it was on TV around the world fast, and it got knocked off. When I say knocked off, with my name on it, David Regal's clarity box, within 90 days.
Wow.
90 days. So I had 90 days of not being knocked off, and it really. I mean, that's sad, but it was gratifying that it went through the roof. I mean, it was on TV everywhere. And it's funny, at the session, Dynamo was at the session. Of course, in the UK, Dynamo is a household name. And I was, part of my lecture is still talking about the clarity box. And I go, wow, Dynamo, if you're here in the room, thank you so much for doing it. It was a real thrill. And there I am in England, and I just happened to say, Paul Daniels did a trick of mine. And Dynamo did a trick of mine. How old am I? That's different generations.
Wow.
But the reason I do Clarity Box in my lectures still is, well, I still do it. One item that's in the book, and it's only in the book, and many people have written and said, will you make one for me? And the answer is no. What the Clarity Box does, do you have video of me doing the move or no?
Yeah, I can pull it up if you want to chat about it for a second. I'll pull it up.
It looks good. It's a switching box. Whatever's in there, if it's a bill in there, if it's a folded card in there, if it's a folded prediction, it switches it out in real time without cover. So you take the lid off that box, you pour it in your hand, you see it go because there is no cover, and it has been switched. And if Luke pulls it up, you'll see it. It's a good switch, and I've learned over the years how to teach it. So I always find someone in the audience at the lecture who's never done it, and I bring them up to do it, and they do it right the first time, and they get a big round of applause. This can't be Clarity Box, because I did this before that, but it doesn't matter. So what I want to tell you about that's in the book.
There you go.
Oh, it is.
I'm going to fast forward to that.
Speaking about it,
there you go.
His quote.
Yep.
Just look how much younger I was. I still had hope then. Just do the move. Oh, for God's sake. Is this the best video we had? What year was this? I think it was the move.
This is what's on the product page.
The move. That was the move. Come on. Okay, we don't see it anymore. That was me doing the move in a kind of like stiff way, but it was early in my life. Okay, I don't want to see myself anymore. I hate me.
There's the move. Bam.
Oh, there's the move. Okay. That's the move. I don't want to see it anymore. Look, I'm begging you. I just don't want to see it. Here's what I do now. The Clarity Box I made as big as it can possibly be and still fit in a jacket pocket. So you can do a close-up or in like a living room, parlor situation. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not lying for effect. I made up some years back. It's a different method than the Clarity Box, but it's a corked, clear wine bottle. A wine bottle with a folded card in the bottom and a cork at the top. You show it to them at the beginning of the show or at any point. And you can tell some of the others, your job is to just make sure nothing happens to this card. They're looking at it through clear glass. It goes on a table the entire time. During the show, you can pick it up, point to it, has it gone out of your sight, and just leave it there, nothing. And I'm not leaving anything out of the description right now. At some point in the act, with empty hands, you take that bottle, you uncork it, and you go like this. You turn it over, and the card goes thump, and now it's lodged in the neck of the bottle. You need to use a hemostat to pull it out, put the bottle down, and it's a signed card from 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
It's a card that was signed 5 minutes ago, and they've been steering it for 20 minutes. So it's a really interesting method because you do go at that bottle with empty hands when it's the moment of truth. And I didn't leave anything out. And I do it in the lecture and to prove it works. And it's not that complicated, and people have already started making them. At the Magic Castle, a guy came up to me and said, I made it, I closed my act with it. And this is apropos of you asking about the Clarity Box. I told you it was knocked up in 90 days. I made that thing with the bottle a few years ago, and I was on my way to a magic convention where they wanted me to just show something. I packed it. And I went a couple of thousand miles with this. I took it out, and I thought, you know what, that's a room full of people. I don't know them all. I was knocked off at the Clarity Box in 90 days. Am I really going to do this for this room full of people? And I put it back in my suitcase, and I didn't do it. And I waited to put it in the book, because now it's out there under my terms.
Yep.
But I wouldn't have been able to handle it if it got knocked off, because I couldn't contain my enthusiasm for the method. I really wanted to show people, but that was the real damage the Clarity Box did. I couldn't show people something I wanted to show them because I wouldn't have been able to handle that if it got out.
I think that's also a topic that a lot of people, they can't understand. And we don't have to stay on this for too long, so we're running way over anyway. But people don't understand how long and how hard it really can be to invent a single trick. And I see it these days that people are so free with information that's not theirs to share. And I don't think people understand how much that really does suck to someone that spends the time to create it, that it could take years to create something that someone else could give away in just a second. Like, it's ridiculous now.
For some people, it's their only source of income.
It is.
And that's pretty rough, because trust me, I lost a lot of money when the Clarity Box got knocked off because it was a very popular effect,
Sure.
and it continued to sell extraordinarily well. Um, because here's the thing: you mentioned there were a lot of other clear boxes that came out afterwards. That's true, and that doesn't bother me at all. That's magic. People say, "Oh, look, you can do it in a clear box." Oh, here's how I'll do it. Here's how I'll do it. That's magic. And other people having the same idea at the same time. That's part of magic. It happens. I think Wayne Dobson was working on one at the same time I was working on one.
Right.
And Wayne's brilliant, and I love Wayne. And other people having their own takes on doing that plot with the clear box. That's how things work. That's how things evolve. But what I do like to say about the Clarity Box, that I think some people fail to notice, is it's self-contained. It's, first of all, exactly the size I wanted. I wanted it as big as it could be and still fit in your pocket, because I found it had more utility that way. But when I say it's self-contained, you go like this, you can then bring that hand to a spectator. They can open it. You're not sneaking anything away. You're absolutely clean, because the gimmick allows you to be clean at that moment of truth. So I have nothing against other versions, but I do like to say, well, an attribute of my version that for some people may be attractive is the moment of truth is squeaky clean. Boom, and you just hand it to somebody. And other versions aren't quite as clean for other reasons I won't go into. But I say live and let live, and let's all come up with our own versions of everything, and we'll all pick the ones that are best for our own applications, our own arenas. That's the wonderful thing about magic. Someone does the card trick the same way for 30 years, then a 16-year-old says, "Why don't you do this?" And you go, "16-year-old, I tip my hat to you. It's a good idea."
Well said, sir. Well, I'm going to start to wrap this up. If there were any other things you wanted to mention about, actually, you mentioned something there. Maybe we could kind of head on this. You mentioned that you're going to start to maybe pop up more and start saying yes to more appearances and stuff. One quick question was, are you coming to Blackpool? Obviously, that's next month. Will you be there for that?
Well, I've never been asked. I've never been asked. Someday I'll be asked, and I'll go.
Next year. You will do it next year then, because I will make sure that you're asked. God, if you want to go next year, you're there. Easy. But yeah, will you be at any conventions, lecturing, do you have plans for this year that you can announce, I guess?
Yeah. I believe I'm going to France,
Oh, wow.
the Netherlands, Vienna. But for Vienna, let's just admit it, it's for purely egotistical reasons. So I can say for the rest of my life, I was asked to speak in Vienna. Yes, I went to a conference in Vienna. They wanted my opinion on some things. I don't have to tell people. It was about how to find the four aces. They'll think I'm a brain surgeon. But I've been asked to speak in Vienna. And then I'm doing some of those Max conventions that are around the United States.
Oh, cool.
And if the Carbonaro thing happens again, I never know if it's going to happen again. I'm always, I find out somewhere in the, as the months go by, but that could affect my timetable too.
Okay, cool. Well, I will definitely do what I can to put a word in, especially to Blackpool, because I'll be there next week, and you should definitely, if you've never done it, Jesus, you need to definitely be there. That's
No, I've never been asked to speak. Oh, but I'm going there soon. Vienna. Been asked to speak in Vienna.
Oh man, David Regal, you're always a lot of fun, man. You have dropped so much goodness today. Uh-oh, let me go. Oh
In
God.
Vienna, I hope they appreciate that, because in Vienna, I'm having a conference. I'm giving a talk. Vienna.
I should just end it on that. I shouldn't even try to. I shouldn't even try to say another word. I should just like hit end.
I've been working on this.
Vienna. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Luke. It's been fun.
It's always a blast, dude. You are such an amazing person in the industry. And again, thank you not just for this, but you've done so much for the community, me included. You know that. That's without being said. Marietta just popped on. Very cool to see Mary Yedid hanging out. One of my favorite
It's
people.
great.
Yeah. So many great people in our industry. I'm very fortunate to call people like you a friend. I mean that. Like you were at the
The
top of your
pleasure is
game.
mine.
You're awesome,
And
dude.
back at you.
Wait, what was that?
The pleasure is mine and back at you.
Well, I hope that you enjoy your time in Vienna. Uh,
How did you know I was going there?
it was just a hunch. Actually, I got a call from Vienna. Uh, oh man. Well, rest up. I know you flew in today. Rest up. Enjoy the rest of your Mountain Dew, unless it's already gone. The Diet Mountain Dew. And David Regal, thank you, sir. I'll be in touch soon, and I hope to see you even sooner, though. So,
Me too.
hopefully, all right, my friend.
So
Take
long.
care. Thank you. Appreciate you. Wow, 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 and wow. I didn't expect all of that, but we got a lot of good today. Holy hell, that was awesome. He is full of goodness. If you're just joining us, you missed a lengthy talk from one of the best minds and best people in the industry, David Regal. So thank you to him for spending so much extra time answering some great questions, going into detail about a lot of very important topics, actually. And I hope that you guys got a lot from it. On my end, I'm just sitting here smiling the whole time, like, wow, this is gold. This is gold. So a big thank you to him and to you guys for hanging out and joining us. The Unplugged thing it's got some legs now. We're going forward. We got a lot of fun stuff to bring you guys. Again, if you are just joining us, we are doing a giveaway as well for a book. David Regal is one of the most creative guys in the world. This is a book that's all about creating magic too. We have one of these to give away because it's no longer being sold actually. This is Only Ideas from Rory Adams. If you want to win it, have a chance to win it, like and comment on this video, and you're already entered. So I know a lot of you guys have already started to comment, so make sure you do drop a like on this too. And you're entered to win that copy, and I'll announce the winner next week. So that is a giveaway. We do giveaways every week. We do chats every week. We do giveaways. Next week, I've got Garrett Thomas joining me from Los Angeles. We'll be chatting with him. He'll be hanging out around the Magic Castle. Might have a special guest pop up with him, maybe. Week after that, I'll be joined by Neil Henry, some social media magic. And just got word today from my buddy Sean Scott has agreed to come on the week after that. So on the 26th, so the 19th is Neil Henry, and the 26th I have Sean Scott. Sean Scott is a local Las Vegas guy. He has released products with Murphy's Magic. One of my favorites of his is called Rise, where you step on a crushed can and it becomes full again. And he's also a specialist when it comes to street magic and street performing. He's one of those guys that it's going to be fun for me to shed the light on what street magic really is. People think it's David Blaine style, walking around with the camera doing magic. It's not that. There's actually something called busking. People like him do it. People like Gazzo do it. People like Jim Cellini did it when he was alive. It's its own animal. It's its own beast. And he'll shed some light on the reality of it and share some tips and advice on that and creating magic. You can just pick his brain on the 26th. I'm stoked to have Sean Scott. I'll schedule up his event shortly, but I will be back one more time with you before I head to Blackpool. So stay tuned for that next Tuesday. I've got Garrett Thomas, so stay tuned. Put that on the calendar next Tuesday at noon Pacific. So we'll be chatting with Garrett Thomas, one of the best guys in the industry. He has a lot of great knowledge and advice to share too. So definitely make sure you tune in for that. As well. So thank you guys for all the love. I see you out there. I saw you, Michael. I saw you popping up there. So yeah, we are just packed, bringing you some of the best people in the industry, hooking you up with some free stuff, answering your questions, not only about people that are out there doing this stuff, but also people that are inventing the products that you want to know more about. We're trying to bring you all of that. That's part of the new Unplugged. So, wow, this is cool. You got a guy here from Bermuda. What's up, Steven Trott? How you doing, man? Nice to see you here. I think you're maybe a first-time viewer. If you guys are new, let me know how you guys found this show, because we are trying to see more and more new faces year after, not year after year, but week after week and year after year. So, yeah, cool. That's awesome, dude. From Bermuda. I need to be there right now. I want a Luke Dancy Unplugged. Oh boy. Oh boy. You want to do it all about the double lift. I got you, buddy. I got you. Great interview. Now I need him to sign my Interpreting Magic. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like David's going to be popping up at more conventions. So definitely make sure to, or just at lectures and events, make sure to, check him out. So All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys for support, questions, feedback. And again, if you want to win this book, we have one copy, just one. Like and comment on this video. If you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you do that after this goes up too. But yeah, this is up for grabs. We'll announce the winner on next week's show. So we got you guys free stuff too, free giveaways every single week. Blackpool, bring it on. I'm so ready for some Blackpool. It'll be great, man. Blackpool is just like Bermuda. No, it ain't. Nigel Quinn, cheers, Luke. Awesome. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. And again, a big thank you to David Regal for spending lots and lots of extra time with us today. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I sure did. I'm gonna get my intro. There's the okay. I need the outro. All right, cool. Sweet guys. Well, thank you again, and we will catch you next time right here on Unplugged. See ya.